Good day, everyone. I am Roshalan P. Alido, and this discussion is about Living Well, Living Good by Maya Angelou. Please excuse my voice because I am not yet healed with my cough and runny nose. So by the way, this is the first literature from North America, and our author for this discussion is Maya Angelou. In the story, Living Well, Living Good. So our topic outline will be we're going to discuss about Maya Angelou, her life and her work histories, and we are also going to discuss the summary, which we will tackle about literary elements, reading skills. Your will test your reading skills, and listening, speaking, or viewing skills. Just imagine that we are discussing this inside the classroom setting. And also, lastly, we are going to discuss six discussion questions after this discussion. So before she was known as Maya Angelou, her real name is Marguerite Annie Johnson, if I may pronounce it correctly. So she had a difficult early life, but she overcame her obstacles to become a successful performer and a writer. So she was a performer and a writer during her early ages. She is considered one of the most influential African American women in her time. During our Afro-Asian literature, I was able to tackle Maya Angelou, and I had known that she was a rape victim at the age of 15, if I am not mistaken. So that she used that as an inspiration to empower more women behind her poems. As a young girl, she spent a lot of time reading books, which she developed a love of literature, including the works of Langston Hughes, and William Shakespeare. So during the 1950s, she performed professionally using the stage name of Maya Angelou. So 5 years later, at the age of 17, Angela graduated from high school and gave birth to a son. To support herself and her son, she held odd jobs. She held odd jobs, working as a waitress, cook, and a dancer. So she is not just a performer and a writer, but also working as a waitress and a cook to earn money. After the success of her first autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and if I am not also mistaken, this is a a collection of poem, if I'm not mistaken. But here it is categorized as autobiography, which is she is really known for about this work. Angelou published four more. In addition to her autobiographies, Angela wrote several collections of poetry. Yes, she is very known in poetry, including Just Give Me a Cool Drink of Water, For I Die, which was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize in 1972. Angela wrote and presented a poem called On the Pulse of Morning for the 1993 inauguration of President Bill Clinton. So that was just a brief description of Angela's life and work. Now, before I will proceed to the summary of the story, let me have you first this question. If you had all the money you wanted, what would you still need to live a good life? So as they say, money can't buy happiness. But what if you have all the money you need in this world? What would you still need to live a good life? Would you assure yourself that you will be happy with this money, or you still lack something even though you have the money that you might think that could address 100% of your problems? Okay, I will leave this question to you. Personally, I would say that, yeah, what would you still need to live a good life? For me, contentment, because if I have the money, I would not be contented or anything. I will not be contented anymore of what am I doing or what are purchases, because I think it would be an easy access to the things I want. So I cannot give hard work anymore, and I can't value anything immediately. So maybe that's my stand for this question. Now, let's proceed to the summary. So Maya Angelou shares a story told by her aunt T, who worked as a maid for a rich family in Bel Air. So when we say Bel Air, it is one of the wealthiest, most fashionable communities in Los Angeles. So the setting of the story is in Los Angeles. And she is a maid in a family closed in a class called Bel Air. BEL and Air as in AIR. So her employers ate poorly, did little entertaining, and seemed unhappy. Auntie threw parties regularly for her friends, ate rich food, and had a good time. During one of the parties, her employers asked to join her. Auntie's experience with the family taught Angelo that money does not buy happiness. So that is like the excerpt of the summary. Now, let's discuss by reading this. I will show you the slides first, and please pause this video if you want to read the stories before I will discuss everything, but you can also read and listen with me as I discuss this. So I will give you time to read the story as I flash here on screen. Okay, let's start. Auntie was a Los Angeles member of our extended family. So parents and their children make up what is called the nuclear family. One's extended family includes other relatives who are related by blood or by marriage. So auntie is an extended of their family. Maybe they are related by blood or by marriage. She was 79 when I met her. Sinewy, strong, and the color of old lemons. So if I am reading this or I am pronouncing it correctly, sinewy. So sinewy could mean physically powerful or vigorously healthy. So that's the meaning of sinewy. She wore her coarse, straight hair, which was slightly streaked with gray, in a long braided rope across the top of her head. With her high cheekbones, old gold skin, and almond eyes, she looked more like an Indian chef than an old black woman. Auntie described herself and any favored member of her race as negros. Black was saved for those who had incurred her disapproval. So she was not called as black. She is considered as one of the negros. And from this paragraph, she was described as an old lady with like white hair or such. Here, she had retired and lived alone in a dead, neat ground floor apartment. Wax flowers and china figurines sat on elaborately embroidered and heavily starched doilies. Sofas and chairs were tastefully upholstered. The only thing at ease in Auntie's apartment was Auntie. So in this line, the one that is highlighted in the blue text, so how might this memory have affected Angela's life? How might it have affected Auntie's life? So she had retired and lived alone in a dead, lit ground floor apartment. So this, we could imagine that she doesn't have a spouse to live with, so she lived alone. So with this, Angela learned to enjoy her life, and Auntie could appreciate the things she had. So that maybe, I think, the interpretation of why did she put this memory on the story. I used to visit her often and perch on her uncomfortable sofa just to hear her stories. She was proud that after working 30 years as a maid, she spent the next 30 years as a live in housekeeper, carrying the keys to rich houses and keeping meticulous accounts. So when we say meticulous, characterized by great or excessive concern about details. So, in vernacular, meticulosa, keen observer. So, the first line here, I used to visit her often and perch on her uncomfortable sofa just to hear her story. So, in here, this is a sort of a memoir. So how does this passage suggest that this essay is an example of a memoir and not an autobiography? So as I said that this is a memoir, but the narration is just like an autobiography because she's referring to a certain character as she discussed in this story. So in a memoir, the author usually looks back on a specific incident. An autobiography covers a longer period. So, why might an author write a memoir instead of or in addition to an autobiography? Because I think memoir and autobiography is mixed in this story. So this is because the author has a particular lesson or a story to share. So for me, as I read through this story, the author has a lesson, both a lesson and a story to share. So the approaching level to this story is that the author used this framework, like the framework of a memoir, when they relate their own interesting or meaningful or humorous experiences to family or friends. So this is the intention of Maya Angelou as she wrote this story. So living in lets the white folks know Negros are as neat and clean as they are, sometimes more so. And it gives the Negro maid a chance to see white folks ain't no smarter than Negros, just luckier sometimes. So this is, I find this funny because um, Angelo highlighted the generalization or the stereotype representing the Negros and the white people. Auntie told me that once she was housekeeper for a couple in Bel Air, California, lived with them in a 14-room ranch house. So imagine 14 rooms. There was a lady maid who cleaned, a gardener who daily tended the lush gardens. Auntie oversaw the workers. When she had begun the job, she had cooked and served a light breakfast, a good lunch, and a full 3 or 4 course dinner To her employers and their guests, Auntie said she watched them grow older and leaner. After a few years, they stopped entertaining and ate dinner hardly seeing each other at the table. Finally, they sat in a dry silence as they ate evening meals of soft scrambled eggs, Melba toast, and weak tea. Auntie said she saw them growing old but didn't see herself aging at all. So in this paragraph, we can have a glimpse of a literary element, which what the theme says about this story. So in this paragraph, it provides clues to the excerpt's theme. So what theme does Angelo introduce with the summary of Auntie's life with the Bel Air couple? The Bel Air couple means her employers who hired her to work for her. I mean, to work for them. So Angelo introduces the idea that even those who have many luxuries may take a little joy in life. So it doesn't guarantee that if you have money, you can be the happiest person in the world. So this is what Angelo wants to express or say. So for those who have difficulty identifying the theme, Angelo describes the couple's luxury, like the mansion, how she describes the mansion, like the 14-room ranch house. The servants, they have their own maid who clean, and they have their own gardener. Four-course dinners, the weight of the food they eat every day. So the four-course dinners. So all those luxuries of the couple, but Angela notes that the couple grows more distant from each other. Diba? As she said here that they hardly see each other in the table. So this means that they are not joining together in the table when they eat their breakfast or lunch. Next paragraph. She became the social maven. Maven or maven. She started keeping company, her phrase, with a chauffeur down the street. Her best friend and her friend's husband worked in service only a few blocks away. So when we say a maven or a maven, it is one who has special knowledge or experience and is is an expert in a given field of work. So, Auntie became a social maven, which means to say that she was an expert already of what she's doing. So, in the highlighted line there, with the blue text, Auntie's two friends in service are servants in another household. So she also has friends with her in the nearby rooms or in the nearby houses, which are also working as a maid. Now let's move to another paragraph. On Saturdays, Auntie would cook a pot of pig's feet, a pot of greens, fried chicken, make potato salad, and bake a banana pudding. Then, that evening, her friends, the chauffeur, the other housekeeper, and her husband would come to Auntie's commodious live-in quarters. There, the four would eat and drink, play records, and dance. As the evening wore on, they would settle down to a serious game of bid whist. Bid whist is a card game somewhat like bridge for two players or two teams of two players. So somewhat in vernacular terms, kaubanay. So commodious meaning having or containing ample of room or spacious. So as what I interpreted in this paragraph, um they would hold a little celebration or get together, and they play or they eat foods together, something like that. So naturally, during this revelry, jokes were told, fingers snapped, feet were patted, and there was a great deal of laughter. Auntie said that what occurred during every Saturday party startled her and her friends the first time it happened. They had been playing cards, and Auntie, who had just won the bid, held a handful of trumps. She felt a cool breeze on her back and sat upright and turned around. Her employers had cracked her door open and beckoned to her. Auntie, a little peeved, laid down her cards and went to the door. The couple backed away and asked her to come into the hall, and there they both spoke and won Auntie's sympathy forever. So, as what I interpreted in this paragraph, Auntie did not ask permission to hold party on that day together with her friends, the chauffeur, her friends who are working in their neighborhood also as a maid, and as the couple uh, went home, they saw what Auntie is doing or the activities inside the house. Theresa, we don't mean to disturb you, the man whispered, but you all seem to be having such a good time. So in here, her employers are not angry with what they did, but they noticed that they are having fun. The woman added, we hear you and your friends laughing every Saturday night, and we'd just like to watch you. We don't want to bother you. We'll be quiet and just watch. The man said, if you'll just leave your door ajar, your friends don't need to know. We'll never make a sound. Auntie said she saw no harm on agreeing, and she talked it over her company. They said it was okay with them, but it was sad that the employers owned the gracious house, the swimming pool, 3 cars, and numberless palm trees, but had no joy. Auntie told me that laughter and relaxation had left the house, but agreed it was sad. So in the first highlighted text, employers owned the gracious house, the swimming pool, 3 cars, and numberless palm trees, but had no joy. So why would Auntie feel that it was especially meaningful to share this memory to Angelou? Auntie is making a point about the value of joy compared to the value of possession. So in here, it highlights again the theme of the story that your possession or your things cannot guarantee you happiness, cannot buy you happiness every day. And it is highlighted at the end of this paragraph the word sad. She agreed it was sad. So Angelo sets up a comparison between the life of Auntie's employers and the life of Auntie's friends on Saturdays. I sorry. What can you learn from this comparison, from the way or from how Angelo or how Auntie described the comparison of her state or the state of her friends on Saturday evenings and her employers? So Auntie's employers had no excitement in their lives. Their evenings are dull. Auntie and her friends gave a good time even though their lives are hard. Imagine you are a maid. How come your life is so easy when you are tired of working all day? So how is that gonna be so easy? So your life is hard, but the way you are enjoying life makes it more exciting, and the way you find happiness is priceless. That story has stayed with me for nearly 30 years, and then the tale remains fresh in my mind. It almost always contains a lesson which will benefit me. So in this paragraph, it interprets moral. So here, it identifies at which part in the memoir that Angelo switches from telling Auntie's story to sharing that she has learned or what she has learned in life. So, Angelo ends her memoir by explaining the lesson of her aunt's story to the readers. So, why does Angelo add her interpretation of the moral? Maybe you are now confused of what happened in the story. Um, this is because Angelo shared her story through the narrative of Auntie. So we could me if I am not wrong with what I understood, Angelo is also Auntie, but they are just but they are not but they are just sharing different names. So both of this story, both Auntie and Angelo is only one person. Anyway, why does Angelo add her interpretation of the moral of the story? So Angelo wants the readers to take away the same message she did when she first heard the story. And also, what does Angelo seem to imply that one should do with personal memories? Because she states here, and when the tale remains fresh in my mind, it almost always contains a lesson which will benefit me. So, what does Angelo seem to imply that one should do with personal memories? So, when we say imply, to make something understood without saying it directly. So, remembering the past can be a way to learn life lessons and understand how to improve one's present. So, this is what also Angelo wants to share to her readers. Okay, let's continue. My dears, I draw the picture of the wealthy couple standing in a darkened hallway, peering into a lighted room where black servants were lifting their voices in merriment and camaraderie. And I realized that living well is an art which can be developed. Of course, you will need the basic talents to build upon. They are a love of life and ability to take great pleasure from small offerings, an assurance that the world owes you nothing, and that every gift is exactly that, a gift. That people who may differ from you in political stance, sexual persuasions, and racial inheritance can be fonts of fun. And if you are lucky, they can become even convivial comrades. So this, for me, this is the most powerful paragraph in this summary because it gives us another perspective of how we have we can have or we can build mind management in our mentality, and this could reflect how we deal with our lives in as a reflection to what we can show to our society. I hope you get my point of what I am saying or what I am referring to. Living life as art requires a readiness to forgive. I do not mean that you should suffer fools gladly, but rather remember your own shortcomings And when you encounter another with flaws, don't be eager to righteously seal yourself away from the offender forever. Take a few breaths and imagine yourself having just committed the action which has set you at odds. So this is just a support from the previous paragraph that um the only companion with ourself, or the only companion that could uplift us from the way we think, or the way we deal in life, or the way we find happiness in life, is ourself, of how we find happiness through our contentment, even though we gone through the tough times in our life. If we are just using it as a lesson and reflect it to learn and vibrate the positive benefit of it in our lives, then we can have the same mentality of auntie, uh, in comparison, or in contrast, in contrast to what her employers have in their lives, or what they're doing in their lives. Because of the routines we follow, we often forget that people is an ongoing adventure. So we are also adventure in ourselves. We leave our homes for work, acting and even believing that we will reach our destinations with no unusual event startling us out of our set expectations. So we can also be hurt with our expectations, as they say. The truth is, we know nothing. Not where our cars will fail or when our buses will stall. Whether our places of employment will be here when we arrive, or whether in fact we ourselves will arrive whole and alive at the end of our journeys. So we cannot tell how, um even though we can learn lessons from others based on the story, or based on what they have been through, but we drive our own lives. We are the drivers of our own lives. uh we we get ourselves to the destiny that we want to be with. So that's life, and that's how we handle life. Life is pure adventure, and the sooner we realize that, the quicker we will be able to treat life as art, to bring all the energies to each encounter, to remain flexible enough to notice and admit when what we expected to happen did not happen. So I always have this mantra in life that expect the unexpected, because in life it is full of surprises, it is full of mysteries, and whether or not we like these shortcomings, we like these successes, we like these opportunities, we like this downfall, each of which could give us lessons in life. Whether it could mean us to be tougher, to be stronger, to be more understanding of what is going up ahead, and to ready ourselves for the big challenges we may face in the future, or humble ourselves to the opportunities we may have in the future. So both of the sides is at risk, and it is really important to have mind management of how you put your confidence into action, and how you put yourselves to the right place in the future. Even if you get what you prayed for, you can still humble yourself and continue what is your goal at the very start of your journey. We need to remember that we are creative, and can invent new scenarios as frequently as they are needed. So this is also another way of saying that we we may share the same story, We may learn the same lesson, but the intensity of going through the same story hits us differently. We may have our own water that some are labeled, or the level of water intensity is above them, just below the knee, just shoulder level. We are not the same. Since we don't have the same intensity of emotions as we deal with these problems. But in life, we handle these problems ourselves, and this depends upon the creativity of how we deal with it. We are down to the last paragraph. Life seems to love the liver of it. Money and power can liberate only if they are used to do so. So even if you have the money in life, you don't have, you don't know how to do it, or how to spend it wisely, then it doesn't guarantee you money. They can imprison and inhibit more finally than bared windows and iron chains. So the highlighted text there is life seems to love the liver of it, which means, or what does this statement reveal about Angelou's beliefs about life? Angela believes someone who fully embraces life will have a more rewarding life than someone who simply waits for things to happen. So maybe waiting for things to happen. So maybe this is what happened to the employers of Auntie. They are just waiting something to happen. They are just waiting for the opportunity that their money can give them happiness without doing something that can make them happy about their interest, about their choices. And the last word there is chains. So while the essay is an example of memoir, Auntie's story is an example of a narrative. So this is why I am confused if this is a memoir, a narrative, or a story, or an essay, because a narrative is a narrative is a story, usually focusing on one particular day or moment in a person's life. So most narratives include a moral or a lesson. So that's why I I thought that this is a narrative. So if you have questions, just comment that in this video, for I will give you more explanation. And you may my voice may be a barrier of your understanding, so I will also just post my lecture notes in this discussion. If you don't have any questions, I will proceed to the discussion questions. Number 1. What is the main theme of living well, living good? So the main theme of living well, living good is that living well is not solely about wealth, but about finding joy and fulfillment in one's life. It emphasizes the importance of resilience and finding joy in life's simple pleasures. So, even if you don't have the money, or you don't have the luxury in life as you always dream about, if you are just finding how you can fulfill yourself in just simple pleasures, then you can be happy. The main theme of living well, living good also has the idea that living well is an art that can be developed, and that is not necessarily tied to the material or material wealth or success. The story emphasizes the importance of finding joy in small things and cultivating a love in life, or a love of life. rather than focusing on external markers of success. So, this is why if you will ask people, what is your definition of success? And they will just answer you, simple. If I am just happy in life, and if sex is not about achieving something you are long to have, but how you are happy with the journey of going through or achieving that dream you have. Number two, how does Auntie's character contribute to the overall message of the piece? Auntie's character contributes to the overall of the piece by embodying the idea that living well is not about material wealth or success, but rather about finding joy in one's simple pleasures. Despite working as a maid for a wealthy family, Auntie is happy and contented with her life, and she shares her wisdom with the narrator, encouraging her to find joy in small things. Number three, what does the quote, living well is an art that can be developed, a love of life, and ability to take great pleasure from small offerings, and assurance that the world owes you nothing, and that every gift is exactly that, a gift, mean in the context of the piece. This quote encapsulates the essence of the piece. It suggests that living well is about appreciating the small things in life and understanding that every aspect of life is a gift. It's not about material wealth, but also personal or but also about fulfillment and happiness. It means that living well is not something that comes naturally to everyone, but rather it is a skill that can be developed over time. It involves finding joy in small things, being grateful for what you have, and recognizing that every gift is a blessing. So everything in life is a gift, and everything in life is a blessing. Some may be blessing in disguise, or depending on how God moves us in life. Number four, how does living well, living good challenge conventional notions of success and happiness? Living well, living good challenges conventional notions of success and happiness by emphasizing the importance of finding joy in small things and cultivating a love of life rather than focusing on external markers of success. The story suggests that true happiness comes from within. This is also the theme of the movie Trolls. You are great. You just, you, we always have that happiness inside us. We just need someone to remind us of the happiness within us. So the story suggests that true happiness comes from within, and that is possible to live a fulfilling life even if you don't have the material wealth or success. Number five, how does the setting of the story contribute to its overall theme? So the setting of the story is in Los Angeles, right? The setting of the story, which takes place in Angeles, contributes to its overall theme by highlighting the contrast between the wealthy families that Auntie works for and the simple pleasures that she finds in her own life. The story suggests that true happiness comes from within, and that is possible to live a fulfilling life even if you do not have the material wealth or success. Maybe you are sick of hearing the same thought or the same words again and again and again, but this is what the theme or the story highlights. Number six, how does living well, living good reflect on the socioeconomic disparities in society? So while living well, living good does not explicitly address socioeconomic disparities in society. I also uh, didn't notice socioeconomic disparity. It does suggest that true happiness and fulfillment come from within rather than from external markers of success. The story emphasizes the importance of finding joy in small things and cultivating a love of life regardless of one's socioeconomic status. Living well, living good highlights socioeconomic disparities through the contrast between Auntie and her wealthy employers. So, again, it also highlights that money cannot guarantee us everything, and money can bring us happiness. Although it can, but it doesn't guarantee living life or fulfilling life with happiness. Despite these disparities, the piece emphasizes that wealth does not equate to happiness or living well, challenging societal notions of success. So that's all, everyone. And we may have different interpretations of the word success. And I hope this story or the moral of this lesson helps you redefine your definition of success. So again, um, do not equate success or do not equate the term unsuccessful to the goals that you didn't achieve this year, last year, or the goal that you are longing for to achieve, but the way you find happiness in simple things. That's the greatest success you can ever achieve in your life. So I hope you learned something from this lesson, and thank you so much for listening.